Hey guys, WhiteSheep here, and I know you're all as bummed as I am that there was no Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this week after being left on a huge cliffhanger about Skye's parents. I actually didn't find out that there was no new S.H.I.E.L.D. this week until this afternoon. Really a bummer because I was looking forward to it. I was looking forward to reviewing it for you guys. But it was actually a Clark Gregg tweet that told me that the pilot was re-airing, which just made me sad. But I got this idea of doing something special for you guys, and I thought that I would give you my thoughts on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so far, the pros and cons, talk about some of the commentary that's going around, and make a prediction for you guys, or some predictions. I actually think I have 5 or 6 predictions for you about the rest of the show. But I got this idea after seeing a HitFix article about just how superbly unimpressed they were. And while they raised some valid points, I thought that I'd give a different perspective as a huge comic book fanboy, someone that covers this stuff on YouTube, and someone that's had a lot of conversations about this with my friends and YouTube colleagues and such. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the pros. I think perhaps the biggest pro is that the actors have a great chemistry and ensemble, and this is definitely where you see Joss Whedon's hand in this show. If any of you have ever seen Firefly, well, if you haven't seen Firefly, I'd say go watch Firefly right now. Arguably one of Joss Whedon's best works. But The Avengers as well is a good example. But in anything that Joss Whedon does, there is a great chemistry in the ensemble. The actors all have a great rapport with each other. Joss Whedon really likes team building and having a good team dynamic be at the heart of any production that he does. Now, that's the Avengers. You see how they work together as a team is huge, and that's why I think Joss Whedon was perfect for the Avengers. Firefly, it is definitely probably one of the greatest things about Firefly, and one of the things that makes it a greater shame that it got canceled unduly and before its time. But I will say some of these characters are underutilized, and I'll get back to that in a minute. But these characters work well together, and this is definitely a Whedon strength, and you can definitely see a lot of Whedon's, his hands in this. You can see his voice in this. Now, another pro for me is Clark Gregg is really, really good. And his revival is definitely one of the most intriguing storylines going forward, and he's a standout to me, especially in the recent episodes with I Spy, highlights that he is just a standout. He steals scenes. And also, I like, the fanboy inside of me loves that the larger universe is being hinted at. Most fandomoniously in recent episodes like I Spy, where there was the Chitauri writing on the blackboard, and the girl in the flower dress, which hinted at either metahumans or inhumans, and this superhuman index that they mentioned, which I really do hope, that's one of my hopes going forward, is that we get a look at that superhuman index. Now, these two gave us a much more serious tone for the show, these 2 episodes, and it seems to be finding its balance between comedy and drama, another thing that I'll discuss in a second. Now, moving on to the cons, while the actors have a good rapport, most are underutilized, I think, and I would say a good 4 of the 6 members are extremely underutilized. Ian DeKistecker and Elizabeth Henstridge as Fitz and Simmons respectively, they're seemingly one-dimensional and only for jokes. And I would love to see them get fleshed out and developed a lot more, because I feel like they seem to be very strong actors, and they seem to be in touch with those characters, and I'm waiting for an emotional thing so that we can get a little more character developments on their part. Now, Brett Dalton as Agent Ward, I hate to say this, but he's practically a 2x4. He's playing exactly the character you'd expect. He's the muscle-bound, attractive guy that's hilariously out of touch and put in awkward situations. But I need to see more from him, because although he's a relative newcomer in the acting game, he doesn't have a whole lot of credits. He could be doing a lot better. I mean, we'll probably see him develop over the course of the show, but it's a thing to watch, and it's a troubling thing for me. And Ming-Na Wen, I love her character. She's one of my favorite actresses on this show. She needs to be explained. Now, this whole cavalry references. She does want combat, she doesn't. Please tell me, please elaborate. I have a really big fear that they're just going to drop the whole, oh, what's the cavalry thing, with all the other arcs that seem to be going on in this show. But that needs to get explained, preferably sooner rather than later. And the Skye and Ward ship, this is my biggest thing, is they're forcing the relationship between Skye and Ward down your throat so much. I certainly feel that it's forced down my throat, that I really don't want it to happen. I'd rather see her get with Fitz, because there's only so much time. Like, they're definitely, it's like any scene that they're together in, it's like, wow, sexual tension. It's just repeatedly slapping you in the face. There's no subtlety. There's nothing good like that going on that lets you, you don't get there on your own. I feel like they're kind of dumbing it down for us just showing us, oh, hey, these two are going to totally bang later. Now, who's also the main character of the show? This is another con for me. Skye or Coulson. Now, clearly, they're using Skye as an everyman to kind of give us just in an outsider's look at S.H.I.E.L.D. That's what they're trying to do. But I feel like Coulson should be the main character in my opinion, because Clark Gregg is really, maybe Ming-Na Wen, but they're not setting her up for this. I think Coulson is probably the only caliber actor that could carry the show by himself in the vein of the tone that they're trying to do. Now, another thing, mentioning tone, this show it's really struggled so far to find its tone. The last two episodes definitely were a step forward, but there are awkward jokes at the most awkward times, and I have trouble sometimes taking it serious when it needs to be taken seriously, like in serious scenes. Now, especially Girl in the Flower Dress, definitely they improved on that a lot, and the serious scenes were very, very serious, and it definitely seemed to be a lot better. But it's still something to watch moving forward if they can keep that going. Um, Overall, I'm waiting to see if it finds its tone, because that is a big thing. And so far, I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. But I think the premise alone is enough reason for it to continue for the full season. And after the full season, if it hasn't really found its tone, if it's still struggling in the emotional side of things and having trouble balancing out the emotion and the jokes, maybe then a second season will actually be in doubt, which would be disappointing considering how much money has been spent on this and how hyped up it was. Now it's prediction time. We already have many long-running stories being set up. Now, like Skye's involvement with the Rising Tide, Ming-Na Wen's past, Coulson's resurrection, these Centipede people, and now Skye's parents. And here we go. I'm going to make a series of predictions about each, a la Armin Stradamus. We'll see if this works. Starting, I'm going to go in order of those ones that I just listed. So I think clearly, eventually, Skye will choose S.H.I.E.L.D., although I hope she does the double, triple agent thing just for funsies, you know? But I'd love to see that dynamic happen. And I think that's clearly she's going to eventually choose S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, because if she doesn't, I would be impressed if she doesn't and they pull it off. Ming-Na Wen, I think, I'm going to predict about the whole cavalry thing. I think she had her entire unit killed, which is why she's a stone cold fox. But I think she you know, survived a mission on her own or something like that, or came to everybody's rescue but couldn't save everyone. Perhaps a metahuman did it, and she's just distrustful of metahumans. That'd be an interesting, you know, sort of view. That'd be an interesting take on that. Definitely a new little, you know, foible, a little, you know, wrinkle in the show that would be an interesting dynamic. I'm going to predict Coulson is an android or at least a cyborg. A lot of people cite he had blood on his face at one point, which I think he might be a cyborg, or at least he has some cybernetic parts. Another rumor I've heard is that Scarlet Witch resurrected him, but that would be a little bit too crazy. He keeps saying Tahiti was a magical place. That would be an interesting way for them to bring Scarlet Witch in, but I feel like that might be a little too crazy. A little too unbelievable. I think he's at least a cyborg or an android at most. Now, Centipede, this is one of my favorite predictions. This is one that I'm very proud of. Centipede is the remnant of AIM, which is why they have extremis technology. But AIM is actually being secretly funded or helped by Hydra, aka the Rising Tide. Now, a lot of people are saying that you know, the Hydra Rising Tide connection, but I think the Centipede people are AIM, because AIM and Hydra are very closely linked in the comics. They were both, you know, not necessarily founded, but led by Baron von Strucker, while AIM was established to help Hydra in the comics, but it kind of went its own way. But I think AIM, I don't know if it's been absorbed by Hydra, but I think Rising Tide is Hydra's sort of, I guess, new, you know, I guess misnomer. It's you know, sort of like its secret identity. Just because this is one that a lot of people are connecting, just because, you know, Rising Tide and Hydra both have something to do with water. You know, that's interesting. But and I think Skye's parents, a lot of people are like, oh, they were killed by S.H.I.E.L.D. or oh, they were, you know, hidden by S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that. I think actually Skye's parents were agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think they were they pulled the Richard and Mary Parker agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, which is, you know, these people that we'd assumed were dead were actually working for S.H.I.E.L.D. all along. I think that would be a very interesting dynamic. Those are my predictions. Check back in a while to see if I'm right. I hope they wrap some of this up by the end of the season, because if not, it's going to be a long time with a lot of filler episodes. But in the end, I think this show does enough. There are enough pros to me that it deserves the full season, and we'll see by season's end if it improves on the pros and kind of cuts down on some of those cons, and the characters grow and become more developed. Then maybe we'll see if it warrants a season two. But so far, I would give Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 5 episodes in an 8 out of 10. So signing off, I'm White Sheep. If you haven't already, click the thumbs up to like our video. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Commenting, just comment to let me know what you think, or comment to try and get in touch with me with your opinion. Me and Hybrid are always very active in the comments, and we love to hear from you guys. So signing off for good this time, I am White Sheep.